Okay, we have here a 2001 Volkswagen Jetta with a TDI. It's an ALH car with a 5-speed manual, and the customer's complaint is when he puts it in 5th gear, it doesn't propel the car. 1 through 4 work just fine, and reverse works just fine. Let me show you what I got here. So I'll put it in reverse, first, second, third, and fourth, and then 5th, nothing. And we put it 4th again, and 5th, nothing. So I'm familiar with this problem, I've seen it before. Usually it's the 5th gear that rides on the counter shaft, and the splines on it will strip out. There could be other causes also, we'll have to take it apart to see. But if it's the 5th gear stripped out on the counter shaft, we can probably replace it and get this vehicle working again for reasonable money. But if it's the shaft itself and that's stripped out, then it becomes a much more expensive repair. Transmission has to come out of the vehicle. Transmission has to be completely disassembled, which we can do. It just becomes a much more expensive proposition. And with the condition of this car, I'd almost bet that the customer would go with a used transmission. So we are going to do some disassembly in the 5th cover. I'll show you some of that so you can, if you have a problem similar to this, you can address it on your own car. Like the oil's nice and clean. Yeah, not so easy to fix this one.
That's a lot of metal.
I'm sure you can see that. This is not a case of stripped splines, it's a case of stripped gears. So that gear's no good, this gear's no good. Now, a lot of times when this happens, it's caused from lack of lubrication, and all those chunks of metal are inside the trans running through there, probably damaging other stuff. Get this gasket out of the way here, but you can see that all that metal right there is inside this transmission. And I mean, maybe this guy could squeeze a few more miles out of this transmission if we put this set of gears in it, but this transmission is probably going to be pretty short-lived even if we do that. So I think I'm going to call him and suggest a used one, and we'll go from there. Well, I'm taking another look at this because our customer doesn't really want to put that much money into it and really wants to explore the option of fixing this one with a set of gears. Now, I have, pretty sure this is a set of gears for it right here. I have an O2J taken apart right here, but pretty sure that's 5th, and that's the 5th counter, and I can put those in there, save him a whole bunch of money, and maybe get it working. What I'm looking at is most of the metal has been, you know, when it sheds off those gears, it's been trapped right in those areas, like right there. So although I'm sure some of it has passed through into the trans, I'm hoping for his sake that it isn't thoroughly contaminated where it's going to absolutely destroy this thing once the miles are put on it. But if we can get it working for a short period of time, maybe he can get some extra mileage out of this car before it goes to the boneyard, or maybe he'll decide to fix it later with a used transmission or rebuilding it. So we'll move forward with disassembly and see if we can fix it. Okay, we're starting the removal process on this, and we're starting with a triple spline 8mm, sometimes called XZN. This is removing the 5th gear shift fork. The little pieces that the bolts go through need to be removed. And this is a T45 Torx. Okay, we're going to make this easier by putting it in 5th. Okay, we're going to grab the golf club and move it to 5th to make it easier to get the bolt out. That's up in this direction. These are the two parts we just removed. There's the bolt with the T45, and I would call this an adjustment plate for 5th. And we're using a T60 Torx to remove the these 2 screws on the end. And of course, there's a spring washer behind it, a conical shaped spring washer. This 5th gear hub and slider is kind of a press fit, and sometimes we can get these off just by air hammering inwards on the shaft and prying outwards with the Ladyfoot pry bar, but sometimes we have to heat it. Okay, as I said, usually this is a press fit on there, but you can pry behind the gear because the gear just slides out, and this one's moving relatively easy. But we're probably going to have to do some air hammering, so just take the air hammer inwards. I have this socket that's kind of wedged on there. The socket was just destroyed years ago, but I've used it for this every time. So here, of course, is our busted up gear with that bearing inside it. And here's our attempt to remove the counter gear. Like I said, sometimes these require heat to get them off. Maybe we'll get lucky on this one too. Obviously, if you're doing this with the intent of reusing the gears, you might want to be careful not to break the teeth, but I don't have to be careful on this one. Rotating the wheel in order to get a different position. Maybe I can get a better hook on there. And here's our broken counter gear. And here's some more chunks of stuff inside here. So I really think that this fifth cover here, the fifth gears, are designed to be submerged in oil, because down low there's no holes for the oil to pass back into the transmission case. And so what I'm kind of hoping for this customer's benefit is that the teeth from the gear just fall down to here and mostly don't pass through the holes that are high up into the main bore of the transmission. We will of course drain the transmission to see how good that theory is, see how much metal comes out of it, but this thing did work really well in first through fourth in reverse, so maybe he can get a little bit of mileage out of this thing. And there's a little bit of metal inside here also. Now this is our bucket that we used when we pulled the fifth gear cover, and that's how much oil came out of the fifth gear cover. And so we'll drain down the transmission. Is there any chunks on the end of the magnet?
Yep. Sure is.
Of course, here's our drain pan or drain plug, and they're a little bit magnetic, and there are some chunks sitting inside there. But I didn't see any massive chunks fall out when we first opened it up. We'll put the fifth gear on the counter shaft. It went on really easy. And then the bearing for the fifth gear main. Our new fifth gear main. And we'll put the brass blocking ring on there. I took a good visual of this and it seems to be good. Our fifth gear hub and slider, which I've cleaned, is a little bit worn. Now this is a very expensive part, and it's hard to find a good used one in a TDI because they are people tend to drive them in such a manner that they wear out. You can see my website for more information on the fifth gear hub and slider. I have a whole section on O2J failures. Okay, my technique for putting this on is I pull the gear out to match it, and then I hold the gear to it while Cameron beats in on it. And it's a little bit dangerous because my fingers are kind of holding it and it's getting beat on, but we've done this quite frequently and we have a process that works. So someone suggested heating the hub and slider, and that's an excellent idea, but unfortunately we don't have time for that here. We're just going to do it my way.
Ready?
Yep. That one went on really easy. And after you do that, you want to look at the brass blocking ring behind it and make sure it wiggles freely. If it don't wiggle freely, you've cocked something, done something wrong. Okay, I call that a fifth adjustment plate. If you know the exact term that comes out of the book, that's fine. But okay, to put this on, to adjust this, we make sure it's in fifth. The transmission needs to be in fifth, and this collar needs to be pushed down into fifth, and then we tighten it up with it floating there normally. We don't want it preloaded inwards, and we don't want it preloaded outwards. Click, click. And I'll have Cameron put the cover on and fill it with oil, and we'll go road test it and see how it does. I'm out on the road testing this Jetta that we put the fifth gear set in. I just want to demonstrate that it is working in fifth and that it's fairly quiet, not making any problems or anything. So I'm in fourth gear right now. There's the tachometer, fourth gear, and shift to fifth. And there's the tachometer lower than what it was before, back to fourth, back to fifth. Working great, pretty quiet. Not sure whether it's going to last or not, but you know, obviously there was some metal contamination inside the trans, but he can get a few more miles out of this, and hopefully it'll last. If you learned anything from this video, click the like button. If you'd like to donate to the continued production of these videos, visit my website at www.kansascitytdi.com. And it's been a while.
You gotta be natural, boss. You gotta be natural. Just let it flow.
Just let it flow?
Yeah, pretend like you're talking to Portland.
Yo, Cortland, baby. If you learned anything while I put this fifth gear set on this video, click the like button. And if you want to give me some money, honey, because I make good videos.
Whoa!
I can't say that 'cause if you learned anything good from this video, be sure and click the like button. If you'd like to donate to the continued production of these videos, visit my website at www.kansascitytdi.com and find the donate icon. And if you'd like to watch some other videos, here's one right here, maybe one right here, and don't forget to click the subscribe button.
Do I need to worry about putting any other ones in?